Hello and welcome to another Naval Action video. Rather than talking about parts of the game, I just want to spend a few minutes just talking about early access and what it means for games like Naval Action. Naval Action's ambitions are big. I've been with Naval Action since its closed alpha, when it was just sea trials. They want to create a whole 18th/19th century MMO, trading, port activity, lots of fleet and group activity, whatever they end up calling clans or whatever. And to build a big game, to build a big MMO, costs loads of money. Gone are the days of finished products hitting the shelves. It almost never happens. Destiny is probably the most recent example, and we can argue a lot of that wasn't finished. I think if you look at something like WoW from the olden days, WoW was 3 years in the making. It was all done in the back room. They took an enormous risk. They were obviously building off the back of success of things like EverQuest. But nonetheless, it was 3 years in the making. It was a huge risk. Hundreds of developers were involved in World of Warcraft before it ever made it. And then it had about 8 years of significant continuous development to turn it into the behemoth that it became. And I actually doubt we'll ever see anything like World of Warcraft again. We might get the odd Destinies, but the depth that they created, the vision they had, was almost unique. There's only a certain number of ways that are working right now to fund a game. So you can go into the dark room like World of Warcraft, and you can disappear for 2 years and risk tens of millions, if not more, of money on a new title, perhaps in an untested area. And really, it's something only the big boys can do now. The small producers just can't compete. You've seen things like WildStar come and go, and a couple of the Warcraft titles come and go. Not Warcraft, sorry, the sort of Warhammer style titles come and go, and they just don't have that depth. If you're making a smaller game, so your Hons and your LOLs and those type of things, where there isn't the depth, they've got a bit to them, they're well thought out and they're clever, it's perhaps a little bit easier to take the risk, but it's still the big title companies predominantly who are taking those risks. It's not small software houses. The guys who are building Naval Action for us, they're a really small development house, and I have to say during the early alpha, the closed alpha, they were quite communicative, and they dealt with the community. There's other games that can survive off perhaps a subscription model, but again, you have to have pretty much the full game ready to rock and roll with a subscription model. It's pretty hard to just turn that out half-cocked and hope people will start chipping in. There's all the models we've started to see recently with crowdsourcing, so the Elite Dangerous and the Star Citizen. Now, Elite Dangerous has possibly had a similar journey to Naval Action. It had, huge love during its closed alpha. It possibly came to market a little bit early, with bits not finished, and it possibly had some salt because of that. And then, of course, there's early access. And the danger with early access is lots. The early access notion, what it means in the software industry, and my background is the software industry, isn't what it's been used for nowadays. Early access typically would be with a closed group. It would be with what you might call friendlies, people who are keen, and it was used to test out feasibility and various ways of doing things. And early access today basically means we can't afford to build this without you guys getting involved, you guys being us, the punters. But because so many games pretend to be early access, and again, if you look at the HONs and the LOLs, they sat there for years in so-called beta, when they were more or less finished products. And to some extent, a lot of the player community expect to walk up to a pretty much finished game. I don't know what they think early access means, and then they're shocked when it doesn't do their favourite thing. So how should we, the community, behave with early access? And that's an interesting thing. So if you look either on the Steam forums or Naval Action's, the Games Labs forums themselves, there's sort of different types of stuff that you see on there. There's the people who just love the genre. So I mean, that was me with Elite Dangerous. That's me with this to some extent. It was me with the early plane simulators, the World of Plane type things. They love the genre, so to some extent you can get away with a lot with them. No matter what you put out, they're going to be loving it. And anybody who criticises it, they'll jump all over them, tell them it's early access, stop being a knob, blah 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 blah. They impose things in their own mind's eye. Oh, look, in the future it's going to do this, and they're talking about what they want it to do, how they envision it. And the forums can become quite toxic. Now, this is an even bigger problem for small companies. They can't afford the PR. They can't afford the folks who sit there responding all the time to every little war that breaks out on the forums. They might get scared and overreact to what they think is an emerging problem on the forums, you know, and everybody's seen this with things like Diablo, with Nerf bats coming out every 5 seconds, and developers doing things to quickly keep people happy that in the long term isn't probably in the interest of the game. Just like I'm absolutely kicking the shit out of stuff. The forums themselves, although a great tool for feedback and a great way to get the community talking about the game and giving them insights, it's a double-edged sword, because in today's world there's a lot of people who just spew venom, you know, screaming for refunds, posting things like this game's shite, no one should buy it, and this can be a PR disaster for companies. There's the zealots, the lovers of the game. So some of the lovers of the game are fantastic. They know the game's going to change. They know it can't do everything they're going to want it to do. Half of them want, you know, an icon on the map. Half of them don't. They want it to be like a real sailing and take 8 days to get from one port to the other. And there's nothing wrong with being in love with the genre. But it is hard to stay balanced. It is hard to let the developers sort of go down a path of discovery themselves. The lovers of the game can kind of kick the pants out of other folks in the forum who perhaps are expecting something different or want something different. So the forums can become really toxic, and with a company that can't afford to pay someone with probably multiple language skills to pretty much 24/7 curate their forum, it becomes a real big problem. You've also got the dreamers who sort of impose their belief as to what the game should be, and they're the guys who quite often turn on the game. So they start off as lovers as it, and then as soon as fast travel's implemented, or clans are implemented, or something that doesn't fit with their worldview, they go loopy-loos. And then of course there's the dickheads. So, you know, my grandma used to say, if you're in a group of 10 people, look around. If you can't see the dickhead, leave, because it's you. And that's just us. 10% of us are dickheads. I could be one of them. You could be one of them. And how you behave in those forums, some of the posts that I see are just laughable. There's trolls in there messing things up, causing all sorts of venom. you know, and these dickheads, they're the opposite of the guys who I found a trader's link that some guy had done the other day, and it's just a shipbuilder's link. It's just an amazing, it's almost a work of love. They've loaded all the ships, all the materials, the costs of building, all that sort of stuff. So at one extreme you've got these guys, the community who maybe run clans and build clans and organise port raids, and then at the other end you've got perhaps the guys who come in, they're expecting a World of Warcraft, they're expecting some other thing, a World of Warships or whatever, a fully completed game. They can't believe they spent $40 on it. Most of them haven't. Many of them haven't even played. And the forums become a real toxic place. So what can developers do in early access, and you know, how should you run early access? And it's a good question. It's a good trick. So I mean, first of all, I think you have to have a certain amount of polish on your product. Now look at this. This is just beautiful, man. Sailing around here, these graphics are pretty smooth. I'm running at ultra mega super thingo everything. I've not dropped down my anti-aliasing. I'm on a reasonably good rig, but it's not a mega gaming rig. It probably is, but it's not a crazy bonkers. It's about 3,000 Aussie dollars worth, which for those of you in the UK is about £7.50, and for those of you in the US is about 500 barrels of oil. So you know, how much value do you expect to get out of early access? If you pay $40 US for something, and if you get 40 hours of gameplay, you've paid $1 an hour. Well, go to the pub and buy a round of drinks. See how much fun you get out of that. You're not going to get 40 hours out of it. Go and watch a movie and buy some popcorn, and there's your $40 gone. So we get a little bit precious about this, and oh, I don't have much money, and blah 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 blah. Well, if you don't have much money, investigate something before you buy it, right? There's a billion videos out on this game. There's 2 sets of forums, the game developers' own forums and the Steam forums. Do a bit of work, have a look at it, and try and, you know, if $40 is a whack of money to you, if it's loads of money to you, don't blindly buy something that you don't know what it is and then QQ and fill my lovely sea with salt. Because it's not what you expected. If you went into a shop and bought something in a box and didn't look on the outside of the box or the inside of the box and took it home, it's unlikely to be something you want. Alright, so do a bit of research. So that's the first thing. So if you buy the game without looking at it and it's not what you like, to some extent that's economic Darwinism. You don't deserve your money, and fools are easily separated from it. If you have done the research and you buy the game, and to be honest, to discover you don't like it, you still got to put 20 or 30 hours into it, much of which you'll enjoy. The first time you get in combat, if the first time you get in combat you don't enjoy it, you're drunk, right? But even if you only get 20, 30 hours out of it and you go, you know what, it's not for me, it's $2 an hour, man. Right, that's loads of fun for $2 an hour, so sort of chill a bit. I think the devs could help. I think, for me, I actually think it's a really good idea to put out a development roadmap. You can caveat it with, this is aspirational, we might not get everything done. You know, this is the sort of things we want to do, rather than nothing, and then, you know, just, well, we might do a drop in a month, we might do a drop in a week, whatever. I think it's a really good idea, thanks, admins, to give the punters a bit of a clue. You know, the next thing we're going to work on is port menus, or the next thing we're working on is dynamic trade or dynamic wind. We're working on hitboxes, we're improving sound, whatever it is. If you communicate, and you only have to put out a message once a week, this is something the Elite Dangerous guys are actually really good at. You only have to put out a message once a week, and if you miss your targets, you can explain why. People are going to understand. You do a couple of things to respond to the community, so you know there's lots of QQ about, oh, the flags are white, I can't see white, I hate white, it's racist. You know, make it so there's an option to change the colour of the cutlasses or something like that. Do a little $10 fix just to keep the community happy. I think the other thing that they could have done with this, that I personally think would have been a great idea, the sea trials. The sea trials were very much like World of Warships or World of Tanks. You sat in a lobby, you picked a ship, you went into a random 10 on 10, 15 on 15, a Trafalgar battle, 40 on 40. You were absolutely spectacular. You ranked up. I actually think they could have released a version of the game that was just that. They could have spent 6 months, released a version of the game that was just that. It would have given them a revenue stream. They could add in little silly DLC pants to earn a bit more money. You can buy a coloured flag for your ship. You get a captain's hat. I don't know what. All sorts of shenanigans could have been added to sort of pretty up the game. And then they could have used some of the revenue from that and some of the player base from that to then pay for and grow into the open world. I think that would have been a good idea with this game, because the sea trials in themselves, I actually thought they were better than World of Warships. What they didn't have was the progression around them and some of the semantics about the hitboxes. They've added much of that in now. In fact, they added it in almost at the very end of sea trials. I think they really could have capitalised on that, and I think they missed a trick by not doing it. I think developer diaries would be a great way to keep the community's hunger for new shit coming, and also to shut down some of the dreamers who are saying, oh, in the next patch they're going to fix everything you don't like, it's early access, you don't like early access, go and kill yourself. It's not constructive, it doesn't help. And the developers aren't going to be able to do everything you think it needs. I also think they need to start already working on a little bit of stuff to generate revenue as they go along. I don't mind a bit of cosmetic flurls that you can buy for a game. You know, be it, like I say, a flag, your own flag, being able to put your name on the ship, whatever it is. Pay a couple of dollars for that, you get 10,000 people doing it, that's another 20 grand. That pays for another few months of a developer who's on an internship being exploited and never sleeping and spends all his time drinking energy drinks and second-hand pizzas. So I really think, they need to look at a way of maintaining their revenue stream. I think that's important and something they should be focusing on, like I should be focusing on getting out of chains a little bit. So yeah, I think the takeaway is big games that fit into a niche drama. We're not going to see them being developed every 10 minutes by big houses. Big houses focus millions of dollars on 1 or 2 games every few years. And if you want a game like this to survive, if this is your genre, have a bit of patience. Look at Star Citizen, man. Billions, loads of millions of dollars, 2 years and still going, and probably still 2 years away from even a significant first release. And yeah, I'm still pretty confident when they've done it, it's actually going to be one of the mega titles of the decade. Chill in the forums a bit, cut people slack when they don't have the same worldview as you. Not everybody wants to sail without any navigational aids. I mean, all these things can be made optional. When they start talking about, oh, you can buy a flag for your ship and it's going to cost $3, recognise they've got to pay for their development stream. And if they don't, the game's going to go away, it's going to die. So, chill a bit, trust in the developers. If it's not the game you like, then don't bloody buy it. And if you do buy it, and you get 20 hours out of it, well, good luck, well done, and go and find something else if you don't like it. Alright, get out of the forums, stop your QQ, and go and find something else, and spoil their Christmas, basically. So that's my thought on Naval Action, my thoughts on Naval Action, my thoughts on early access and really the industry where it is right now, and how we as consumers, if we want the games we want, should behave. Who am I to have these thoughts and espouse these opinions? I'm just one of you. I'm just one of the guys who loves computer games. I'm a big fan of military sims. I'm a huge fan of historical sims. I think this has got loads of potential. I am worried that the people who love it might burn out long before it's ready for release. But let's just cut the developers some slack. Let's be positive. Let's make the forums a place they want to come and talk to us. I read the forums half the time, and the salt and shite in there, man. If I only had a few hours a week to dedicate to community relations, I think the best thing I'd be doing is not reading the forums. So it's just the way of the world. Early access isn't what early access is really meant to be. It won't be again. The industry's changed. You need millions of dollars to produce top-end games. These are small development houses producing things that I reckon are going to be brilliant in the long run. And if they're not, I've already had my money's worth out of this. I've had 100 hours between this and the sea trials already. I've already had my fun. 40 bucks. It's not all the money in the world, and if 40 bucks means too much to you, if it's too much of your disposable income, then my takeaway is investigate something properly before you put your money into it. Where's my unicorns? There's no unicorns in this game. I wanted unicorns. I read in the thing years ago there was going to be unicorns. There's no unicorns. So relax. Anyway, there you go. Enjoy your sailing. I'll see you in the forums. I'll see you on the oceans. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. If you've got comments, that's what the comment section is for. I think this is a good topic. I think it's a topic that quite often we get lost in the drama of it all without thinking about how's it going to work for our game. Anyway, that's enough from me. I've got to kill these guys before the bastards take the servers down for maintenance in the middle of my key play time. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you around.